locked in right now. It's the Wheel1 podcast. Got a special guest in the cut right here. You know, as you can see, it's my good friend Dani. Introduce yourself to the people.
Hi there, my name is Dani Romero. That's my last name. Yeah. What else do you need me to say?
I mean, it's whatever. I mean, it's your introduction. It's your world right now.
I'm an actor. That's how we met.
Yes. You know, on set. You know, I might clip that in here too. Just throw that in there. You know, in case you guys aren't drinking your big cafes or so. You know what I'm saying?
Warm up for the season with McCafe cappuccinos and lattes, made with freshly ground espresso beans and Canadian milk. Steamed, frothed, and so delicious. Share some holiday cheer with a medium latte or cappuccino for $2 plus tax starting November 8th.
But yeah, so we met through that, and that's about it.
And now we here. Now. So, you know, Dani, I like to kind of do it like how we usually do on the show. We kind of like to start from the beginning, get the story, you know, where you come from, where you grew up, family, sibling life, all those little things. Like I always say, I say this on every episode now. It's like, we know this is Big Dani right here, but like, what was Little Dani saying?
Right. Okay. So I was born in Mexico.
Where in Mexico? Just to let people know. Like,
yeah,
Mexico
City. Yeah, it is a big country. So yeah, I was born in Mexico City, which is
right in the middle.
Yes, right in the middle.
I'm good with geography.
Yeah, you are. It seems like it. You're like, it's a big country and it's right in the middle. And like most people, they're like Mexico City. They're like,
they probably think Mexico City's like Tijuana.
No, literally. Yeah, literally. They're like, well, like they just see Mexico and it's just like they just think of the entire country.
True.
But yeah, so I was born there. My dad's Mexican, and my mom's Scottish and Irish.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I am white.
Just to let you guys know, you know, she is a Latino. She's white passing for a reason. You know, there's a reason.
But yeah, I'm still white anyway. But
a little bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah, there you go. So I was born there. I have two older siblings. I have a brother and a sister. My brother.
Oh, so you're the baby?
Yes.
I mean, I'm the baby too. So.
Are you really?
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
I got two older brothers.
Two older brothers?
So, youngest of three, just like you.
I feel like, Did you find, like, when you were, like, growing up as the younger sibling, did you figure or, like, feel like you were, like, given special treatment? Because I feel like it tends to be, like, it's a thing that people think. Like, you're the smallest, like, people
Yes and no for me. Because, like, don't get me wrong, I still had to do things, and, like, sometimes even my older bros, they would be like, nah, like, you're not going to do that unless you do this.
Right.
So, like, there are things like that, but then there are times where my older brothers kind of just got the brunt of things. Just because it's just like...
Because your parents are learning.
And it's just like... And they're just like... They look at me like, nah, like, he's not really that big of a threat at this point in time.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I feel like that's similar for me because my brother's the first one, and then my sister, and then me. And I feel like both of them were more so, like, rebels, like, kind of doing, like, they
rebel without a cause, or just, like outlandish?
I mean, my brother, I think, like, when I think about my brother, I think of somebody that's has so much creative energy, but is very much, like, when somebody says, like, this is how it is, he's like, but why? You know what I mean? Like, he will just challenge the status quo.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There
is nothing wrong with that. But I think growing up, there was probably, you know...
It can hinder him a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
He
was difficult in school.
Makes you seem more defiant because, like, you know, you're asking questions, which is crazy because, like, how else do we learn unless we ask questions?
Well,
like, you know?
I think, But I, on the other side, was completely the opposite.
So you're just like...
I was just like, yeah, whatever you say, I'll do.
I feel like it's a weird thing, but, like, as the youngest, I kind of felt like that, too, at certain times, where it was just, like, in certain situations, I was just like, you know, whatever, I'll just go with the flow. Like, maybe this is, like, how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And, like, I guess, I don't know, I have this weird, like, innocence of, like, I just believed whoever was telling me something would, like, follow me in the right direction.
Have the right, intentions, 100%. I also think that, for me at least, I think I was a very, and I still am, kind of like an introspective, like, I see things and think for me, because I knew how my mom was, you know, had a lot in her hands. My dad is a musician. He traveled a lot for work, and my mom had it hard, you know. So I think.
So how was that, like, with your dad, like, traveling for work, and then all three of you guys at home alone? Like, yeah.
I mean, it was. I have fond memories for the most part of like my childhood. Like, I think I had a pretty good childhood. Of course, there were times that were difficult. But I think what I remember most is like when my dad would come. Like, I associated candy with love, because he would always bring like a candy or something from like somewhere that he would travel.
Makes sense. Yeah. Give a little something sweet for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, here you go. I haven't been here for a few weeks, but here you go. Yeah. So, you know, but I think from that it was like I you know, bring it back to the point of like I was very introspective, so I could tell that things were kind of hard for my mom, and both of my siblings were kind of more challenging of the status quo. So I tended to be the person that was just like, I won't question. I'll just be the one that's easy. Like, I don't want to cause any problems. I still am that way, and I'm still kind of learning to, like, you know, stand my ground.
Yeah, I will say sometimes you got to be like, nah, fuck that. This is how I'm moving.
Yeah. Going through therapy has also helped a lot.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Just started therapy, but. Just she's helped me understand a lot how I think from a young age I don't know how to perceive anger. I have a hard time experiencing it because I don't associate it with something that's good. So I think that from the get-go, if something's bothering me, I often won't say anything.
And kind of like almost like shell in a little bit.
100%.
That's crazy. Like, you know, I mean, I think a lot of us are like that too. Like, you know, as time goes on, because like, especially when we start in the beginning, because like, I feel if you're a defiant person, it's kind of like something that you just always had. It's very hard, like you said, to like work into it. And then, because you don't want to feel like you're doing something wrong. Because I always say, we all have a moral compass. And we all kind of know when we're doing right or wrong.
Right.
Like, you know, and it doesn't feel good to be angry at somebody. But at the same time, it's like, in a weird way, it's something that you have to do in order for people to know there's a line that you cannot cross.
And that's 100%. Yeah. It's like anger... And as I've learned,
still learning.
But I think, absolutely, exactly what you said. Anger is a helpful tool for when you are being taken advantage of.
Yeah, because
when it's unfair, you know.
I definitely agree with that, because I feel like it's crazy. I hate that people take kindness for weakness.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's a huge thing.
100%.
So it's like people have to have that ability. Excuse me. To like stand their ground, to just be like, nah, fuck that. As much as I'm a nice person, you're not gonna like fuck around with me because you feel like I'm nice and I'm not gonna say anything, let alone do anything. So I feel those are always big things that it's hard to identify, especially like if you haven't done it for most of your life. But amazing when you do, because then you realize, oh shit, there's a little bit of power in saying no.
No, that is so true. Yeah, no, I agree. It's weird. I'm like I said, I'm just kind of still learning what that means for me, but that was a lot of my childhood. I kind of just like compliant, complacent. I'll do well in school. I won't do like, you know. But then I was also kind of like, as a kid, when I started learning about climate change, that was a big thing for me. Like I became obsessed with like the idea of saving the planet.
I mean, yeah, we got to, because it got like the whole garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean, like, you know.
And, you know, having summer and winter.
Like, you know, all this type of shit. So it's like, I definitely agree with you, because, like, you know, the effects are clearly showing.
Yeah, and I think, like, so that was, like, kind of like a way for me to also just, like, I was part of the Eco Club, and so that was something that I really cared about and was passionate about.
And it's good to just have like other people that are just on the same level.
On the same, thinking about the same things, challenging, like, you know, how we do things. Yeah,
it's your way of being a rebel.
That was literally.
It's like, I'm gonna save the world, bitch.
Yeah. How do you want to be a rebel? Join Eco Club.
Hey man, we all gotta find our ways. It doesn't matter which way you get in there, you know. So that's a great thing. So now I do want to ask you a question more, like still kind of sticking on like a little bit of like childhood, but like with you being born in Mexico City, how did you guys end up here?
Yeah. So good question. My mom. My mom's first generation Canadian.
Okay. Oh, so she's born here.
She was born here. Yeah. Her parents moved from Scotland to Canada. They had her here. My dad, like I said, he's Mexican. He was born there. My parents met in San Diego, where I told you I have family with my dad from my dad's side. My mom was just there on vacation. My dad lived there. They met at a bar. You know,
typical love story.
Yeah. They met at a bar, and they made a connection. And they, from what I understand, they might have been like in a long distance relationship for a few years, and then they finally decided to, tie the knot. And the idea was to live in San Diego, to live there. But my dad found work. Again, he's a musician, so he found work with a Mexican singer.
Okay.
And so he was he played the keyboard for this Mexican singer. And so they moved to Mexico and to, have this.
Pursue the dream.
Yeah. And so, we all of us were, raised there.
So like when did you like move here? Like
I moved here when I was 13. So it was in 2011.
So how was that transition of like, you're growing up in Mexico your whole life, and then now it's like Canada. You know what?
Looking back, I think it was a lot harder than you think it would be, or like what I thought.
I mean, everyone. For me, I feel like in general, it's going to be a difficult transition because when you're so used to one environment and then the environment completely flips, it's going to be different. And especially like in a place like here, I feel, especially because like with the Mexican culture, I feel like there's as much as there is like Central. It's like South American. So the connection is going to be a little bit off too at that because it's like it's hard to connect, and then there's very few people to connect with.
100%. And I also like when I moved to Canada, where I moved to, there was I knew no one that was Latino. Like I didn't know anybody. I knew like a lot of like people that were from Pakistan and.
Where did you first move to?
At Ajax.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I moved to Ajax. Yeah.
Most of the like Latino people are like on this side.
They're not on that side.
They're right here. They're right here. Go up a little bit like towards like the Jade and all that type of stuff.
And I think for me, like one of the biggest things, just from like interacting with people, was that in Mexico, when you say hi to someone, when you first meet them, you give them a kiss on the cheek.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
we don't do that here.
No. People would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I love the process. You're like, and you're like, "Oh no."
Yeah. Because at first I'm like, "Okay," you were like, "Oh, that's it." I'm like, "Oh no."
Yeah, we don't.
You can't do that here.
They're like, "You kiss them? You must be engaged."
But that's the thing. That's like a cultural thing again, because like it's done in Mexico, like you said. But then I feel in other like European settings, it's done a lot too. Even some Middle Eastern settings, I feel it's done too.
I actually ended up like one of my best friends is Persian, and I only met her when I went to high school. It was a few years, but I found like that was the closest connection to what that is, because there is like a sense of community within people that is just not here. Like we just don't have that, like the connection. I think
it's kind of funny because like I was on a previous episode, like I was talking to my friend, and we were talking about just like his like transition from coming here. It's like from India, like at 15, and then like how the difference in culture was like that. It was like it was a bit of a culture shift, and it was just weird that like the family aspect, it would turn into more individual. Yes. And like that, what he said was like this big difference that he noticed.
Massive difference. I would totally agree. Like even just the culture around food and eating and communicating is very different here. Like I know in Mexico, if like everyone sits down together and has a meal together, and everybody, like in town even during dinner time, they will all get together and do that, right? Like, it's not something that is just like, oh, I have stuff to do, so I'm just gonna go have dinner upstairs in my bedroom alone. Which is...
I can't lie, I've done that so many times in my life.
I mean, so have I, but it wasn't really, like, it was just not an acceptable thing over there.
It's like, no, I was like, what the fuck you doing?
Yeah.
You better come here on the table with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Oh, but to see... Those are, like, some of, like, because there's pros and cons to everything, and I feel 100%. Like those are, like, one of the pros to, like, other parts of the world where it's like the culture isn't very westernized, I would say. Even though Mexico's in the West, but like I feel the culture isn't exactly westernized.
Yeah, well, I think and I think it's just because it's not. I guess we were in Mexico. The conquest was European from Spanish, Spanish people. So it wasn't. Not the French and it's not the English, kind of different vibe. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy that you even say that because like now that I think about it, because like for me, I've only like lived and like my family comes from English Commonwealth places, so it's kind of been the similar culture in a sense. Like even though like Jamaican culture is slightly I would say slightly now different from like Canadian culture, but it's like. It still has those British traits that are like in depth and entrenched in it that like never really leave, like tea time maybe.
Yeah.
Like that is like I noticed like from as a kid growing up was always like you're feeling away, grab some tea. Like it was coffee wasn't a big thing for me. Mom Dukes is drinking that, but like everyone else is on their tea vibes.
Yeah.
And it's like that's just like a one little thing that I say that has like maybe lingered from the colonialism and stuff, so like it makes sense why over there in like Mexico the things like that have lingered and why it separates from like the westernized two countries above it.
Yes, no, I would agree with that. Yeah, we were there's a sense of a different sense of community there that that is palpable and I definitely miss it. But like you said, there's good things and there's bad things to everything. And the biggest thing I don't miss from being in Mexico is feeling extremely unsafe.
Yeah, I was about to say because they got a narco war going on right now.
And
and people are still vacationing over there like it's nothing. I'm like, there's a war going on out there.
Well, for me, it's not. It's the narcos is a thing, of course. That makes you feel unsafe, but. There is a massive issue with women being murdered in Mexico.
Oh wow, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's called femicide. Like there's literally an issue. Like 11 women die a day.
What the fuck?
To the hands of like domestic violence and so it's a big issue.
Bro, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I haven't even heard of this.
Because it's not something that people really talk about much.
And I feel like too in Mexico, like it's hard for the media to expose certain things because it's just they get silenced.
Well, yeah, it's just like it's third world country news. Like we don't really care about it. It's like the same thing. And I think I heard Jessica Chastain. Do you know who she is?
No.
She's an actress.
Okay.
She won the Best Actress award last year for the Oscars.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So she was in an interview and they had asked her about Ukraine and she was saying like, I want to talk about Ukraine, but can I also talk about Iran? And then they're like, yeah, and they never got to it. And she was saying like, it feels like the reason they didn't want to talk about Iran is because it's a women-led revolution. And that's kind of how I feel about it in that sense in Mexico as well, is that there has been a massive push for like women
to take control and power of themselves.
Yeah, and being like, we're not fucking happy dying at the hands of violence from men.
Which is ridiculous.
It's just not something that is talked about. I would to the point of Jessica Chastain, is that because it's a women-led revolution.
I never thought of that like that, but I totally agree on that point because what I've noticed is, just from being a man, is that it feels like men have a hard time accepting the fact that women want very equal rights. Like, not everything can be exactly equal because obviously we're just two different species of human being.
Sure.
But at the same time, I feel it's like, what's so wrong about women saying like those things like that? Like, you shouldn't hit me.
Yeah.
Like, simple as that. Like, you shouldn't fucking hit me. Like,
I don't want to be scared to be walking around and like live.
Exactly.
You know?
It shouldn't be right that like in so many other places I feel in the world, because like you say this about Mexico, and it makes me about like in India where like they have like women like they get raped a lot, so they like have the like the female biker gangs to protect themselves in a sense.
Exactly, because they've had to take, they've had to take over and take like the initiative
because it seems like people don't care. Yeah, and like that's I hate to hear that, and like I guess that's always the you say pros and cons of everything from where you're living at, and like of course you love Mexico and like being Mexican, but it's like ugh.
It is such a hard thing because like you said, I love my culture. I love my people. I love what they represent, how they talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Like I love it all, but it's at the same time so much of it is a culture of machismo, and like that it's just continues to
machismo. I love the way you put that. It's just like that, man.
There's nothing wrong with men.
Yeah, of course not. Like I hate. That's the thing. I hate when people feel like, oh, when women say we want these rights, that means like, oh, we're fuck the men. Yeah. Like I never understood that because it's like, where did they say that? Yeah. It's like I hate when people feel giving someone else rights that they deserve means that I lose some of my own.
Something. Yeah.
It's like it's ridiculous.
It's so true. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I agree with that.
So, we're gonna come back to things like this, but I kind of want to swerve into, like, as we're going through like the childhood and everything. What were some passions that little Dani just had and loved?
Oh my gosh.
It was just always there.
So I always wanted to perform.
Oh, I always did. So this is like you saw this coming.
Yes and no, but because I was crippling shy.
I can honestly see that about you.
I was like, I mean, maybe not crippling, but
I could see you just being
shy,
like
very introverted, very like, I daydreamed a lot. Like I would let my mind escape in fantasy a lot, and I think that's why I wanted to perform. It was because I could maybe find a way to release what was in my head, and so but honestly,
definitely should be a writer too now.
I do write sometimes, but I think like I definitely wanted to perform. I wanted to be a singer before I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
Before I ever
family footsteps.
I have a very musical, very artistic family.
That actually kind of does like. I don't want to say this until I'm like stereotypical, but like when you said like your dad is a musician, I just thought like instantly of like some like Selena moment, like like dad's a musician. He was in the band, and like they traveled around. And, like
it definitely feels that way sometimes. Like he definitely wants to make music and stuff like that together. But I wanted to be a singer before. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be an actor, and I think for me it was just because that was the thing that I did when I was alone. I was like, I would sing, and I would, it was
your safe space.
It was my safe space, absolutely. It was a place where I could just like escape and be like, oh, like I wish I was like this person and I had this, and like
performing with the remote.
Yeah, I was definitely doing that, and I think I remember my sister. She was in the drama club, and she was doing plays, and I wanted so badly to be like that. I wanted to and she's an artist, a visual artist.
Okay.
Now, but that's what I wanted.
It's kind of crazy. You guys got a little like flip flopped a little bit.
Yeah, we definitely did. But that's all I wanted. Like I just wanted to do what she was doing.
You saw it, and you were just like, yeah.
I could see it, I could feel it, but there was no way I was going to audition for any of that stuff. So like, it would be so embarrassing for me. Like it was, I couldn't. My sister would always be like, "You should sing in front of this person." I was like, "No, not doing that."
It's one of those like they know what you got, but like they know that you're just. Yeah. It's gonna take a while for you to be like, okay, fuck it, let me show somebody.
Yeah, but I was definitely the kid that was performing at at home, like playing some music and like air guitar.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I always tell people, because like for me, like I was like very similar. Like I used to like watch Men in Black and put on a suit and like my glasses and everything.
That's so cool.
Yeah, then I got into it. Like I was like, all right, I'm Agent D. Like.
That's so good.
Oh man,
Men in
but
Black was a good.
I love that shit. Like that was my shit right there.
Yeah.
But so I kind of want to go into now, like we kind of like touched on like your upbringing and like little things that kind of make you you. I want to go into more like how do you view how like society is nowadays? Because like especially you being like a Latina, but then at the same time a white passing person, so it's like
Yes.
this weird complex of like being a person of color, but people don't look at you as such, like
Yeah. I've had many conversations about this because it's something that in our industry specifically, a push for visual minority is very big.
Yep.
And I understand that when I started acting, and even just like at the beginning and throughout many of the years before where we currently are at, it was they didn't care about that. They didn't care about showing ethnicity on screen.
Yeah. Diversity.
Exactly. Diversity. And now that's all you hear.
That's the thing.
Like you break down, it's just like, a woman, 25, women identifying, 25 to 30, any ethnicity, push for, like BIPOC and like, which again, I think it's great. I think it's great that we're moving to a place where
it's kind of evening out the playfield.
Yes, like, and because white people are still booking, you know, like it's not like white people are just like, well, we're just like not working at all.
No.
There's just been a push for representation that there wasn't there before, and so for me,
I appreciate, I benefit off of it.
Yeah, exactly, and I do too. Like but
you have the double whammy.
I have to prove myself as a Latina a lot, like.
Which is fucked up.
And the reason why, I think the reason why I started booking more is because I went from saying like in my slate, hi, my name is Dani Romero and I'm 5'2", to hi, my name is Dani Romero and I'm 5'2". I started saying that I started saying my name.
You just rolled your R's, and then they were like, hey, we might need that that Latin girl right there.
She's not. She's
not really white, is she? Hold on. Let's go back to her tape.
Yeah, rewind. So I think, and that was an interesting change that I actively was just like, I'm going to start doing it, because also it feels weird for me to say Romero. Like that's not how I actually.
That's not how you say it then.
But I was just saying, well, like I don't want him. Like I want people to be able to pronounce it, so I would just say it that way. But then I was just like, fuck it, like. And then sure enough, I've been booking more because of that, and I think also a lot of the opportunities that I have been because I am Latina. Like. A lot of voiceover though, right? Because,
I mean, hey, you got the voice for voiceovers. I've always wanted to do those. Like, I feel like they're fun. Yeah, I did a animation TV show in December. Oh, that's lit.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
I can talk about it, but I can talk about it. It's fine.
I just want to make sure. I don't want to get no into trouble here.
No. I can talk about it. Yeah, it's this show called Work It Out Wombats. It's a PBS kids show.
Oh, lit.
So I have it hasn't aired at all or anything like that. But it'll probably air in another year from now. Like that's how long it takes for animation to
makes sense.
Happen.
Yeah.
And it was a really small part. Hopefully they bring me back. That'd be really nice.
Yeah, that'd be lit. My homie here, she's another on voiceover job.
Yeah.
Just be on the mic, just like this.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. It's honestly like very like fun, heightened, like playing and.
Makes sense because you have to have your voice like represent what they're trying to show.
Yeah.
So you have to like kind of be in it.
Well, yeah, there has to be a physicality to it that I didn't expect. So.
Yeah, you gotta because you can't just talk like we're talking now.
Yeah.
You gotta,
just like literally, if your character's jumping off of a tree or whatever, like you can't just be like, hi. You can be like, you have to have like that.
You just hit the floor, like the
impact and that. So that's actually when I started getting voiceover, just auditions in general. I was like, this is so much fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's lit. I love that. You motivate me to get something like that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, just a slight pivot that I always got to ask people on the show is I always ask someone, because mental health is a big thing for me. Mm-hmm. So it's always to ask someone to talk about a time where they first encountered their own mental health and really had to check themselves about it.
Wow. Yeah.
doesn't have to be the worst thing in your life.
No, I know what you're saying. Honestly, for me, I've definitely had moments of like depression and I think it's just when things happen in your life that, like, you know, changes that we were talking about earlier, like a big change where you're not expecting it and you don't know how to move forward from it. I think that can be hard. I think for me specifically, in terms of my mental health, I have a hard time staying still. Like I have a hard time because I feel like when I'm not working, I spiral. Like I get in my head.
You're too anxious. There's so many things that you're like.
Well, because I feel like I throw myself into work as a way to avoid
distract.
And I think again, working for therapy. But
work in progress. We're all a work in progress here.
But it's but yeah, I think I've definitely found myself in situations where I felt really in a deep sense of depression and having to just persevere through that. So
like when you found yourself in those situations, like what do you feel was the thing that really kind of like helped you get through it?
My art.
Which kind? Because, you know, we're artists in all types of ways.
Yeah.
We're performance artists, you know, visual artists, you know, you got your music, that's an art too, like, yeah.
Yes, well, I think even just, like, to get back to when my sister was doing, all the performing when we were kids, I remember she was doing the play, The Wizard of Oz, and, again, I just wanted to be Dorothy, or I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be all that, and we actually ended up watching that. My mom was like, "Oh, we should watch the real movie." So we watched The Wizard of Oz, and I fell in love.
You're like, fuck the play.
I fuck the play. Like, look at this masterpiece of, like,
cinema.
Art. And I remember feeling extremely seen in that moment. Like, watching, again, it's like this story about this girl that has, like, so much, like, you know, thinking about somewhere outside of her tiny little world that she's so unhappy with, that she finds herself in this like wondrous fantasy thing. And I think for me is where I constantly find myself feeling safe and happy, is like when I'm able to connect with film. And like a lot of the times, like I think about my life in terms of when I was watching the show, or when I was watching that movie, or when I watched that and that changed my life, you know. And I think that for me is a big thing, is like, getting out of it by escaping through film and then getting inspired to do that.
I love that, because like that's like the perfect thing where it's like, you know, I feel fucked up, I kind of just go back into my passion, and that's my safe space. Because I feel like from before, I like, because I've always been interested in like acting and performing and stuff like that, and like ever since I was a kid, it was kind of like always my thing. But then at the same time, growing up, I was like the basketball player, like, you know, the athlete, and I felt like that was like more what I shifted to do. And then the reason why I was doing that is because when I was on the basketball court, it was my therapy, because I forgot about everything, and just for like 2-3 hours, I was just locked in. And
isn't that just such a beautiful feeling? Like, feeling that is just,
you just like, and like, after I was done, maybe some of those things would pop back up in my mind, but it was like during those couple hours, it was like my sanctuary. And I feel like that's probably why I took it so seriously, because like I was bad, like,
well, and it doesn't even, that's an awesome thing about it too, right? Is you don't even have to be good at it, like it's just finding it that's helpful. Like, and I you know, I don't consider myself a religious person, like I don't associate with any religion, but there is a spirituality in my experience with acting that I don't find anything else. It is just like, I think when I'm acting, and I, like you said, I get that moment of like absolute bliss, nothing else is happening, I'm absolutely present. Those are the moments where I'm like, I think that's what people think, or I think that's why people believe in God, and I think that's what God is to other people. That's my God.
No, I definitely agree with you on that, because like I'm the same. I'm not like my parents are like, or my family are more religious, but like me, I'm more of a spiritual person, because I kind of feel, you know, that's a whole other topic. We'll get into later. But like Yeah, so like for me, it's always been like a spiritual connection, and like
Yeah.
I feel what you say because like that feeling that I got on the basketball court, I only felt that again when I went on set for the first
That's
time,
amazing.
and like that's when I knew like this is what I want to do with my life because nothing made me feel like that. I didn't care if I was there for 12 fucking hours. It was like I
100%.
loved it, and
Yeah.
it's like I feel like I'm tearing up just talking about this.
Aw.
Like the bliss of like that feeling. It was there's nothing like that kind of feeling, and I love that you just said that. Like that's just what you kind of like go to get you out of the funk.
It's chasing that feeling that
Mhm.
keeps me going. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Chasing the dragon, but the good dragon.
Yeah.
You know?
Feelings, dragon.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Honestly, like guys, you're getting a little emotional here on this side, like, but it's all good. It's all good. Now one thing I had to say, I gotta ask is like, what, like, how did you ever use like the pain that you got through from going through like these situations, like to motivate you and benefit you, especially in your work, because like you say, like that's like the place you go to like recover and be your safe space.
Absolutely, I definitely heal through my work. I think that and I think it's just being able to use what you're working on,
Mm-hmm.
or like being able to use what you went through as a tool for your art to be better.
Mm.
And I think that I've definitely done some healing through like just a lot in college when I studied acting for film and television at Humber, and
Shout out Humber.
yeah, shout out to Humber. So it was a 2-year program, and it was intense. Like we were, I had like 7 scripts going at a time, like every week. Like it was almost like every single day we were acting various,
different type of roles. You got to put yourself into these like different mindsets.
All of it.
It's
like
exhausting.
you could not do like method in college. Like that's just not what like you could not do that. But
you don't have the time.
You don't have the time. Like you would be a mess. Like you would just But that I think was helpful for me in so many ways. And one course specifically that I ended up taking was like a voice and movement course. And I connected to it a lot. The voice aspect. It was about how to release your body and how to your instrument, really.
No wonder you do voiceovers.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun, but I ended up doing a course between first year and second year. It's called the Canada National Voice Intensive.
Okay.
Now I think it's called the Canada National Voice Institute or something like that. Anyway.
Slight rebranding.
Yeah, they changed the branding, I guess, but it's a method by a woman named Kristen Linklater, and it's just. Yeah, it's about releasing and breath and understanding.
Sounds actually pretty like peaceful.
Yes, it's very like it's honestly like meditating in many aspects. And so it was a 3-week intensive. When I tell you intensive, it's like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. doing breath work.
Jesus.
And breath work can expose a lot of emotional things in your life because you're talking about releasing things and how. Because a lot of what they talked about was like how trauma can cause certain things in your body to hold on, and a lot of it can hold on into your breath and your voice.
Damn. And
so it was a lot of like releasing trauma throughout that whole process. And I think that was probably the first time I've ever experienced like a true what's it called, like. We felt like quarter life crisis.
Oh yeah,
but
where this hits you, you're like, "Fuck, man, why?"
I was in because it was so intense. It was like 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Then I would go home and I'd be alone, and I had no one to talk to.
And then
it's 3 weeks, every single day almost, and it broke me in many ways. But I think in that breaking, I was able to rebuild myself in a better.
That's the only way I feel we can grow is you gotta break. You gotta. I remember I heard this in a rap song. It was one of the best things ever. It's like sometimes in life, you're breaking shit down, and then you build it up.
Yeah,
like that's just how life goes. Like it's just, and that breakdown might be hella painful, but you might build up something like extremely beautiful after.
Yeah, and because I think like what we do as humans, right, is just like is share trauma and learn from it. Like, that's basically what we do.
Yeah. So it's just picking up from there, really.
Yeah.
And I love that. So, like, kind of like before we wrap here, like, you know, yeah, like one thing, gotta let the people know where they can find you. You know, that's one thing.
Yeah.
You know.
So my Instagram is Dani Romby.
Put that right here.
Yeah. And I think I have my IMDb page kind of.
It's LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn.
Yeah. It's honestly there's not that much to see there anyway. But
hey, we working. We're work in progress. Come on, we told you guys this. Come on. You know.
But yeah.
So yeah. Before we get out of here, Dani, like thank you again for coming through.
Course.
Really appreciate it. And you know, yeah, you know, is there anything new coming up that you can talk about? But like, you know, plug yourself one more time before we get out of here.
No, it's just a lot of commercials. You might have seen me already.
Yeah, you know, you've probably seen her on the McDonald's one a lot.
I saw you at the. It was. Did you know?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, did the camera?
Yeah.
You haven't seen that one a lot. I've been getting that a lot, so like, I appreciate the look. Shout out Cam H, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, see, we about mental health over here. I told you guys, come on, you know? But again, Dani, thank you for coming by, you know? I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And now, for you YouTube people, if you're here this long, like, comment, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff, you know? Help the channel a little bit. Have an argument in the comments, whatever's clever. But it's your boy Master Twice, the Wheel1 podcast, and we logging up.